Morning, everybody, and welcome to the April 15th edition of the Dawn Patrol. It is tax day. It's supposed to be a fairly beautiful day today. It was beautiful yesterday. We need a string of good weather. With me this morning is usual my co-host of every other week, Bob Hoey, future school committee man who got reelected this year or brought back, and City Councilor Erik Gitschier, who is Mr. Independent, I think, in the city of Lowell, just like we have Josh Taylor out in Drake. So good morning, Erik. How are you?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing good. How are you?
What do you got to tell us? Anything good?
Well, it's all, when you say tax season, every day is tax season.
No, we only have 2 hours, so,
every day is tax season, right, Tom? That's
true.
I don't know what we're going to do as we watch the rising prices of everything, and we're watching, government overcreate. If there's a failure in government, we don't try to look for efficiencies. We kind of just say we need more people. And I think that's the challenge right now in government is how do we hold people accountable to doing the position that they're hired for, and how do we make it work so that people get the best for the money they're paying? I think those are the questions.
Tom, Mark, coming in here this morning, and I know this gentleman's going to be with us. I say, oh boy, this is going to be a beautiful show.
We almost had a dream team show, boy.
Well, now, all right. Listen, right now, I've been watching the budget writer for the state. I don't know his name, but I watch him a little bit. He's been on TV a few times. And they're talking like there's a lot of undecided things. But then the one thing they mentioned that drove me crazy was the millionaire's tax. They brought in roughly, and hold me approximately with my numbers, I'm not Erik Gitschier, okay? But they brought in about $1.4 billion on that tax, and the majority is supposed to go to either education or transportation. I think it's transportation, but let's say infrastructure. And they ended up giving $800 million to the infrastructure and $300 million to education. But they did say that the federal government might do something about the free meals, but the state is not going to do anything, so don't worry about kids eating food. It's going to happen. They'll eat food in Massachusetts. But it's all about undecided stuff. Now, on the other hand, Erik, I'm 70. Retired prison guard. I only did 20 years because I was smart enough to know not to do 32. I got out of there about 15 years ago. And I was a roofer most of my life. That's how I made my money, but my legs are so skinny now I can't even carry a light bucket up a ladder, so I'm done. But the older you get, this is my opinion, the older you get, the more, I like to use this word, the more they suck out of you. I mean, I'm paying so much money for prescriptions, and then my taxes. Last year I added $50 a week to my check extra to pay the federal government because they said I owed them $2,500. So I did it. So I'm happy because it's coming out of my check every week and that bill's covered. This year they say I still owe them $800. I mean, let's figure, because I haven't changed. Nothing's changed. And so locally, Erik, I love having you there, buddy. I know you probably want to talk all about the budget, and you know more about the budget than I think anybody in the city of Lowell at this time. And we just got to stop the pain for, not me, I can still work. I don't mind going and pay a little extra here and there, but imagine what it's like to be 80. You're sitting in your house and you get extra pressure, and that's it. I just wanted to go off a little bit, but how are we doing with the Lowell budget? What's going on?
Is the new budget out?
We haven't seen it.
Okay.
It hasn't been proposed yet, but last night we had the assistant CFO at the Highlands neighborhood meeting, and he was running through numbers, and he was talking about 2.5% to 3.5% increase in the budget, and how he was talking how cost of the city between electricity and employees and stuff like that was going up at an alarming rate. But what he neglected to say, and I pointed out, I said, well, you talk like that's all that's going up is 2.5% to 3.5%, but the one thing that you never talk about is our taxes really went up between 8 and 12% depending on the evaluation of your home. So that's what happens is they just higher assess your home and then make the adjustment off of the percentage that they're going to give you in the tax rate increase based off of that. but the money still flows in, and don't ever let anybody fool you. You're paying a lot more, and look at your tax bill. When they say that 2.5 to 3.5, you'd be happy with. But that's not the case because the assessments have all gone up and through the roof, so that's where the delta comes in to bring in the other monies that are spent on. When you look at this budget, we're gonna outline it when it comes out, some of the raises that went out. I just saw one that we budgeted last year, it was $83,000. It was advertised and it was budgeted. It was advertised on Mass Municipal Association at 110 to 134,000. I said, well, where did we get that other $50,000 from? How did that just magically appear and be able to, do this with these numbers? And it's going to be interesting to go line item by line item and look at how much of an increase some people received in the last year without us even knowing. Because we wouldn't know. The only reason why I knew is because I looked and saw this position. I said, I don't remember it being paid this much. And when I looked in the budget, I saw the increase.
Was that the auditor issue? No?
No, that's another one that's going to be coming up.
Okay.
Which that one's intriguing to me because when you look at positions, the city council has three: city clerk, manager, and the auditor to oversee. That's our responsibility. And a couple of years back, before I was on the council, they pushed the auditor for day-to-day function, meaning that the auditor and the CFO have to work together, and the manager, so we're gonna let them work together, so they gave a vote that would do that. But nowhere in there did it ever say that they were gonna give negotiations of contract over to that, to the manager. And the
So
mayor-
you lost one of your powers, basically, right?
we lost the major power, because now it will create major hard feelings if someone comes to you at the end with a contract that was agreed upon between the manager and an auditor, and you vote no. It just causes major rift. And, we didn't even get to say what we wanted to see in the contract negotiations. So that was my question, is to go into executive session and outline the parameters of the negotiation. So at least you could say, well, maybe we want one less holiday pay or something like that, or whatever it would be. Or maybe you want to see this or that change in a contract. We don't have a contract for the clerk or the auditor. So this is going to be, precedent setting from the council under my terms.
Does the city council still hire and fire the auditor, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. 'Cause
But we
that
don't
was
get to
e-
negotiate, Tom, we get to hire and fire, but we don't get to negotiate the contract. We don't get to have any say in what the contract is until the final piece when you vote yes or no. And you don't get to day-to-day operations, so do we?
I believe the same thing happened in Drake, and about maybe 10, 15 years ago, I don't know when it was, and it seemed it was taken away from the selectmen. But now Josh read the charter, did his homework, and it's right in there that we call it the town accountant in Drake. Same thing, accountant, auditor, and that was under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen. It was, like you said, the city manager, town council, and the auditor, the accountant were under the jurisdiction of the selectmen. And that seemed somehow to get away from them, but now I think Josh is trying to get them back into the mix as far as.
This didn't somehow get away from them. This was deliberately done. And there's a difference. You're taking away powers. And the excuse from the councilors will be this. They'll say, well, we get to vote on it at the last minute. That's not how you negotiate. Anybody who's ever been in a union or has ever negotiated a contract, there are terms that are agreeable. You can bring three things to the table in the beginning and this and that, back and forth, and you look at the contract as a whole during a negotiation process. Now, when you get it at the end and it says, say yay or nay, or, that's not really negotiating. That's a demand on my end as a counselor. It's, you either like this person, don't like this person, you do this, that, and you're really going to create major hard feelings between the auditor and the council. I disagree with the process totally, so I'm a no. No matter if you come back with gold, I just think the process is flawed, and it doesn't set out our parameters. It seems like we're a lazy council when it comes to that. Our parameters are this, we should be negotiating it. We have a personnel subcommittee that should be doing it, that I was on and it got kicked off when new terms come in. And, these are things that are the function of the council, and they should be done that way. And to say at the end, well, you'll be able to vote yes or no on a contract isn't fair to anybody.
Whose idea is this?
It came from Mayor Rourke.
So,
That's
did
who put in
anybody
that-
ask Danny where he got it from?
I had spoken to Danny and asked that, we do that, but obviously we didn't have the votes to do that, so.
Yeah, You know, if you don't mind me interrupting, John, you ready? You all set?
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
I just want everybody to know on the show, especially how I feel. I see so much more positivity happening with my city council right now. There's 2 or 3 I'd like to see us vote them off, but right now, I mean, I've never seen.
Namely?
I'll name them later if you want. That's no problem to
I'm
me.
just kidding you, Bob.
Or I want opposition for them. That's all. I want some opposition. That's what I love. If they redistrict.
I think they should all have opposition.
John, they redistrict the city. We were against that, if you remember. The whole show was basically
It's
against
working.
it. Well, there's some questions about it. When they redistrict, I said something the other day that got Kim Scott mad, I believe, okay? And where they ended was on Morton Street. It's about 100 feet from my house. But they took everything, if you're standing at Stratham Field looking down Morton Street and down toward Borica and Woburn, anything to the left is now in Belvedere. All you did was make Belvedere much stronger. That's all. That's all you did, because what did you do to Kim Scott's area? You made it weaker. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but Kim is the one that gets challenged quite a bit, that district, because they're slowly growing in strength. And when I say they, I'm talking about like the Democratic City Committee, a lot of your nonprofits. They're behind this young gentleman that works over here at the bank, your bank, John, Enterprise Bank, and I can walk over and catch my...
6-0 to Jesus.
That's right. Thank you for helping me.
Nice guy.
Thanks for helping me. They've been prepping this young man for quite a while. He's a Dominican, I'm pretty sure. I don't know much about him, but I've been around him quite a bit. And if I was in 2nd or 3rd place, that's my diabetic buzzer, sorry. If I was in, like the last election, it was Erik Gitschier and Vesna. Well, coming up this time, I'll go as high as number 2. 2 and 3, you better work. Because this kid's going to be a challenge for you citywide. Same thing about citywide on the schools. Yeah, come on, let's face it. Someone finally come out to run. She put her name up, McFadden.
Yeah.
If you don't know the name, she come out to make a challenge to 2 people that this guy wants gone. One of them, anyways, one out of the 2. And it excited me so much that I come out to run. And that's what I want to see. I want to see competition everywhere. So if I offended you, Kim, right now I'm still with you because there's no one running against you. I have no choice to be with you. You've done a lot for the city of Lowell. So if I did tick you off, I'm sorry. But that's just me. You know, but this election coming up, ooh-wee, I wear your head everywhere. I'm telling you, everywhere. Some people saying, oh, you're doing a great job. I laugh. They think I'm you because they don't pay attention. You know who's watching this show right now? Well, right now you got younger people watching it because it's on the computer. But as soon as it gets 7 o'clock, it's people my age or above watching it. 45, 50-year-olds ain't watching it. You might get a Tom Cassidy, Tank. He might be watching it because he's all, well, you know, he's election now. He's into elections, and it scares me. I'm not lying. I was on the phone with him yesterday, Tom. Listen to this. And I'm talking to him, and I could tell he was doing something. I said, what are you doing? He was out running like 8 or 9 miles. And I'm having a conversation. I was breathing heavier than him. Okay? And he's working for Gendron in my district. That's Tom Cassidy. I get nervous. So now I'm for Finn. And I have to work hard for Finn. I'm going to work hard. I'm already working hard for Erik. And I got to work for myself. But guess what? I'm the guy that don't care. Win or lose, I'm just having fun. I'm going to be able to say a lot of things that I want to say about schools. What more can I ask for? Oh, thank you, John, for your paycheck that I get on the Enterprise Bank all the time. I invited him on the show. He didn't give me an answer. I don't blame him because this is a tough show. You know, like the city manager don't want to come on this show. Right, he don't, and I'm a friend of his. I like him. He won't come on the show. It's just a beautiful show, Tom, that's all.
Well, yeah, right, and I think you were talking about the race over there. Was that District 3, 4? Which is the
Three.
But after that, where do you go? Any of the other? I mean, I don't think the other districts are going to have anybody with strong competition. Do you?
Highlands will have a lot of numbers. Belvedere.
Dakota will have strong opposition.
No,
you
I
think?
just, when I say
The mayor,
Highlands, I
former mayor?
say the Upper Highlands. It's
Yeah.
a different place. They'll have decent numbers. Everybody's going to have decent numbers because District 3 is basically saying to them, hey, the rest of the city, watch out. We're going to show you how to vote.
Yeah.
They're going to be incredibly powerful up in Belvedere. And again, something positive is my schools. And what this gentleman to the left of me has done, just for the Riley school folks, that's Belvedere, okay? He's the one that got heat put in it. He's the one that got the water fixed. He's the one that checked out the gym floor recently that can hurt people that rent it. And I have been away a while, but we used to make around $200,000-300,000 a year on renting our schools out. So you have to keep them up. And I want to say that's another plug to the whole city council. But the leader to me has been Erik. So
Tom, you want to read this one?
A question: are the mayor and the city council related? If so, is it a conflict of interest on the manager's contract?
hey, Jay, I love Jay calling in. I appreciate your calls too, buddy. It's the mayor and the city manager might have some type of relation.
But
That's all I'll say.
I believe he did. I'm not 100% sure Erik can answer. I think he got a ruling from the Ethics Commission when that contract came up, or when the whole city manager thing came down. Is that correct or not?
Yeah, that might be correct, because
Yeah.
they do the same thing to Connie Martin over the years.
Yeah.
There's conflicts there, without a doubt to me. CTI, I have a lot of questions for CTI, Project Learn. Project Learn's a great organization that got together, and they got a lot of money to help the schools, no doubt about it. And I appreciate what you do. But when we pick someone to lead our high school, okay, I don't care who it is, let them lead it, period. You want to improve your high school, put someone there, okay, to lead it. And I'll let them lead it. Oh,
Bobby,
boy.
you gotta give
That's my
them
sugar.
goals.
He's got me excited, John, I'm
I
sorry.
You
get
got to
it.
give them goals. If there's no goals, lead us. No. You have to give them goals.
Yeah, but John,
We have
influence.
the dumbest school system in the state. Okay, we're 257. Oh, we're going to get rid of MCAS so it stops embarrassing Lowell.
I have to.
257 smartest school system in the state. I
You're
want
talking about,
Bowser-
Johnny, you're saying the
Those-
city manager should be getting goals from the council, is that what you mean? Because I think they do that, I'm pretty sure they do that in Drake. They
Sure.
meet once a year, the
City
selectmen meet with the
city manager
manager.
couldn't care less. He has a 75-year evergreen contract, making $1,000 a day.
So you're saying he doesn't listen to his bosses? You
Please,
say
No.
that every week.
can I
Doesn't
go
have to.
back at my.
Correct?
Doesn't have to. Go ahead, fire
John,
me.
let me go back to what you
Give me
said.
give me my money. Bye.
John.
I'll move to New
So
Hampshire.
why do we have a city council?
That's a great question.
I have no idea.
That
Wow.
is a great question. When you put in motions and you don't get responses, is that listening
Yeah,
to you?
all right.
We've had them over and over again. Simplest one in the world is, how many fire hydrants did you replace last year? If you don't know that answer, you should be fired off the bat.
Zippity-doo.
You should be fired. That is right off the bat. If you can't answer a simple question that you're actually doing and have it documented. We changed the fire hydrant in front of Tom Bomil's house on Wednesday, March 3rd. We changed the fire hydrant in front of Bob Hoey's house, February 27th. How don't you know that? How isn't that just a press the button, send it back?
Yeah.
We got 3 responses and you got 15 motions because these are residents' questions. I don't care if people like it or you don't, how many motions there are. If you don't like it, then cancel your voters. They're the ones who want to know, how come we can't get this? How come we don't have that? You're putting people's lives in jeopardy. We're asking a question. You pay good money for a water department to function. They're supposed to be fixing water main breaks. You're calling in contractors and you don't have any less staff. And then you're saying that we don't have trained staff, that's why we can't do it. Well, who did the hiring? Oh, wait a minute, that's my friend. We can't talk about that person over there. It's a bunch of BS. And you know what the worst part is? Shows like this and everything else give a pass because it is their friends. And that's the problem is if you're going to be honest about your friends and everybody else.
That's what you're talking about, Eric.
No, in general.
Just because I like
John,
Mercia.
when I was on there, I was told by Kevin Murphy to hire this person. Had a board that went through all the applications, okay, sent down the person to hire who had a CDL, who had all the qualifications,
Yep.
and then when you come back, it's a total different person that you never interviewed. What does that send to the rest of the people? And then the person gets there and he tells you, hey, I know so-and-so, I don't have to work. So that's why your government's
Holy
broken.
cow.
And it's our friends, it's people we know, and they want to hold you to that standard of, hey, John, you and I went out, we have a beer together, I grew up with you, we played in the playground over
Well,
at, the Rogers together.
Well, you
know
don't
the
tag,
game.
you guys don't tag. The
You
city
guys-
manager's roommate is the police chief, correct? From college?
City managers, yes.
Okay, so nobody called him out when he was picking the
Yes, we
police
did.
chief?
Yes, we did.
I
Some
didn't
of us
hear
didn't
it
even
anywhere.
vote for it. Yes, we did. I think you gotta go look back. Some people did say stuff. Some people, we had one city councilor accuse my campaign manager of taking cash donations from one person. That was the ex-chief. Yeah, we did. We did have problems. So, I mean, when people say things weren't said, they were said, John. And I
they
just think it's
fell on
wrong when
deaf
people
ears?
just think that we're not trying to push an agenda that's gonna make a difference, and we've been doing that.
Yeah, well, like I said, it takes time, and I think you're going to see some things change in the city. People are sick of it.
I
They've
don't
been
know, Bob.
watching.
If you're
But-
not getting people run, it's hard to change.
And I
And
agree.
the
I was
people
gonna
you get
say.
to run are the people that you just said, Enterprise Bank. Okay, it's another political group. You look at some of the people
No
and you're
doubt.
looking and you're saying, it's another political group. And that's the hard part, is, okay, so we're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah, but I
different
want to bounce back to John knocking the school system. When I look at the high school, just the high school for right now, there's roughly 3,000 children in there. 2,000 of those children can almost compete with any other school academically. But you got 1,000 that were just like me. We needed a trade school. I don't like to give Cliff Krieger any compliments, okay? It's because that's my competition. I feel like I'm always on competition on
Well,
this
did
show.
you see that? Did you
What's
see
that?
those views we get? I brought that today.
No, but I want to just say this about what Cliff was so right about when I talked about this years ago, and this guy here, I know he's on the side of it. Trade schools. Now, when I was at Lowell Trade School for 1 year, guess what? The shop people and the academic people almost, not hate, but didn't like each other. You could feel it. I got to get rid of this phone.
So when we
Sorry.
talk about trade schools and we talk about academia in the trade schools, people make it like you don't have to understand how to do things. The plumbing exam is an extremely hard exam, and most academic people can't pass it. The electrical exam is the same way. And then when you look at cosmetology and you start looking at these exams, they're not as easy as what people are trying to make out of trade school. Like, you can send anybody over there and it's going to be a pass thing. The trade schools are a hands-on approach to learning. And if you really want to change the school system, change the environment which they learn within, get the heat working right, get the AC working, make people, give them good food that they actually enjoy to eat, and it actually filters in the learning environment. Stop giving them the apples that Michelle Obama pushed and they're throwing in the garbage as soon as they come out. They take it right off the thing because they have to. They walk over the garbage and they throw it right in the garbage.
Let me say this,
You-
interrupt you just for a second. The three things that are affecting me for the schools, number one is discipline, number two would be food, and number three, and I put 2 stars next to 3, busing. We got to get rid of it. And like your side of the issues, I'm starting to think water is going to become a big problem to us, or storage, right? Is that the big part of what's coming?
Sewer is a big piece right now, yes.
Okay, so you have what's your other 2 issues if you were running, if you were me?
When you look at the schools, you have to remember, you got food, you got facilities, but the number one thing, if you want to change the Lowell school system, teach kids how to read before 3rd grade.
Oh, yeah, I've been saying
That's
that
the
too.
number one issue.
Yeah.
Bobby says that
Without
every
a
week.
doubt.
If you change that, then they'll be successful in life. That's a proven fact. But, I mean, issues come and go. You look at a lot of the issues that we deal with every day. They change. Then we get the homeless issue that we've been offering co-op services and everything, and you got people pushing back like, you're bad, you're heartless. No, wait a minute. I offer you to come down with the co-op team and go down there and see what's being offered. Just because someone's saying no doesn't mean that we can't remove them from protected wetlands and stuff like that. You go look at the South Common this morning as we drove by. You have 2 elderly people over there with their walkers sitting on a bench, talking to each other finally.
Speaking of homeless, since hurting the homeless to the South Common, the unintended consequences is ruin downtown Lowell. What plans does the city council have to putting life back into downtown Lowell? And I know most city council, oh, there's plenty of life in downtown. No, I've been down there. Nobody's downtown.
John.
Is there any talk amongst your colleagues to,
John, when you look at a field system, downtown Lowell's economic development should be the prized possession to it. When it started to have a little bit of troubling times and business and buildings were open, how did we fill them? We filled them with social services. There is no way you're going to get rid of social services down there because, number one, the landlord gets his check every single month, and it's a big check, one that the private sector is not willing to pay. And then when you look at down there and you see all of them closing at certain hours, and you're not, nobody's going to, if you go to like a Newburyport, which is totally different, but you'll see a shop, back to back to each other. Now you have to go from a restaurant through social services that are not open to another restaurant or something like that. It's not an economic development friendly place.
well,
because
talking to
of
my
that.
colleagues, Monday night dinner club, why don't we eat in downtown Lowell? They don't want the hassle from the homeless.
I was down there, I go down there every week, and I don't get hassled by the homeless.
Man, my wife and I were down there Sunday night, and I actually didn't see any homeless downtown.
There's a stigma,
Unless
but they're
there's
not
someone-
down there.
yeah.
Tom, I haven't seen them down there at any
It's gonna
restaurants.
it's gonna be a big part of this election to me. It's because the average Joe like myself, we don't realize that there's money being nonprofit. There's money to be made. Most of us think, oh, nonprofit, they don't have to pay taxes and they're not really making anything. They're breaking even. It's not true. I'm learning more and more each day, and I got a family member that's in it and trying to help Lowell. I know what my sister's trying to do, but here's her brother on the other side because I was a Trumper and I'm still a Trumper. I'm not even afraid to say that because I just wanted to see change. I wanted to see smart change, and I'm not sure if it's going good or bad right now, but I know one thing, I know it's changing. And I hope voters understand and wake up, especially my age group, man. I got friends that aren't even registered voters. It drives me crazy. How can you not be a registered voter?
I know people that
Jeez.
are registered voter. My next door neighbor.
It's unbelievable.
He voted 5 years ago when I ran for housing authority. He'll vote again this year when I run. He doesn't vote. They don't vote. People don't vote. I mean, your neighbors probably all vote because you're on the ballot. If you weren't on the ballot, they might not vote. You know?
Yeah,
It's-
I think
it's-
this
it's
election,
awful.
though,
People-
redistricting
I think,
is just...
what did they say in Tewksbury? What was it? 5% of the voting population?
I
What we
believe it
talked
was
about?
6.
How much? 6?
You're close, yeah,
Yeah,
6%.
yeah.
Well, this, like I say, redistricting is basically juvenile, really. It's just been around the corner. Give it some time, and I just got a feeling Belvedere, District 3 this time with 4 people like that, it's going to be great. It's going to be an absolute fun election. Look at what you've done, Eric, for Cameron Casella. I don't think it, other than me and John and Tom and all of us tried to help her as much as we could to get her elected when the whole world was against her.
Oh, yeah.
Karen did it for herself. When you're a great employee.
She was
and-
a qualified
Yeah.
employee. It's rare that running for office that you're qualified.
And she did it for herself with all her years of experience and the work that she put into it. I think it was a no-brainer candidate. And I think it's sad that I understand why people put their names against things like that, but I don't think redistricting has done anything to increase the vote.
I
When
don't
people got in those, I think the first year you'll see that little bump because it's all new challenge. Everyone's challenging everyone for a seat that is open. It's the same thing with the Belvedere piece. When you look at that seat, it's basically someone got appointed midstream, so that's why you're seeing the numbers you're seeing of candidates. If there was someone in there, I don't know who was in there for 2 terms that they would get the same type of challengers because
Who was Leahy, right? He was the
it
city
was
council.
like, And then Council Belanger got put in.
Right,
He was
right.
doing a good job, but people wanted a challenge then, which I personally had voted for and pushed to bring it to the ballot at that time and allow people to vote, and we wouldn't be seeing what we're seeing today. The same people who put their name in for that position have put their name in again to run in an open election. So
Right.
what did we really do? We just pushed off an election till now from when we should have had it in the first place.
Exactly.
Because people were telling us not the truth. They were saying we couldn't get it passed as a home rule petition. And within 3 days of our vote, It was there. So we weren't being told the truth as normal.
Who lied to you?
The city's, well, you look, they said it couldn't be done because it hadn't been done in the past.
Who lied to you?
The city. So it
The
must have
city, so, me? What do you mean by the city?
the city solicitor, the
Election office?
election office, it was Greg Pappas, that group said it couldn't be done that quick. But when you look at it, it was done.
That's going to affect that election a little bit. It's just something small, but it's going to affect
Well, I
it.
think people were watching, and they really they felt as though their vote was taken away from them. And you can't look at a person who got a position and say that you shouldn't have taken it or this or that. Corey Belanger should have taken it, and at the end of the day, that's what the council wanted to do. So why would you not take a position that's being offered to you? I mean, now it's up to the voters of Belvedere to come out and say, look, you know what? We have 4 great candidates, and let's see how the chips lie. And then they'll break it down to 2, and there'll be 2 good candidates for Belvedere that will want to represent them.
It's like you were talking about, Bobby, the redistricting a few years back, and a lot of people were against it, I think, because people don't like change. They're talking in Drake, and now we have a new charter board commission, what do you want to call it, studying the charter. And one of the things I've been saying for a long time is they should just do away with town meeting, because town meeting, everybody will say it's the purest form of government, but I've been there. If a big issue's coming up, you'll have 300 people there. You need maybe 400 people, but then sometimes you can't even get a quorum because there's nothing on the town meeting ballot. So I think it should be a strong town manager, would maybe change the selectmen to a town council type thing like they did in Methuen. But people don't want change, meaning the older generation in the town probably doesn't want change. I would love to see change.
Yeah, I don't
And
think
it's too bad Josh wasn't here today because he could talk about it more because I know he's involved with that. So.
Why Belvedere?
Tom, you want to read this one?
If the manager had any stones, he would show up on the city life and answer the questions about a city he manages.
Through redistricting, now that I am in Belvedere, and that's why I made that point already, it's just going to make it a stronger vote. They're going to have a whole lot more votes in, let's say, District 4 or District 3. 2. Anywhere. Citywide, that race is going to be called in Belvedere. And most people in Belvedere, come on, let's face it, their kids, their grandchildren, everybody votes. As soon as they can vote, they vote. And it's going to show the city, maybe, I'm just saying maybe, our vote, people might be waking up. Internet is maybe helping. Social media might be helping. For years, there's a lot of things I was complaining about on the schools that he's mentioned today. It's just, we always seem to go in reverse, but I don't see it anymore.
Corey's a bell.
see it.
Corey's ran before. I think with him, he's going to get people to vote for him no matter what. And Phil Shea used to always say to me, the more the merrier in a race, because I'm going to get many people, they're not going to turn against me, they're not going to, but then the others they'll pick up the slack. But I don't know if he's in
There's
trouble
no
or
doubt
not.
in my mind, the hardest worker in the race will win. Who's the
Yeah.
hardest worker?
Yeah.
Do you know I might have knocked, some people like to say they've knocked 20,000 doors.
Oh, you hear
okay?
that's BS.
I've knocked maybe, in 7 different elections, I'll say 20 doors, if I knocked that many. I never knocked a door. I strictly run with name. Bob Hoey, my father's name. He knew everybody. And that's the way it was. And a guy named Mike Gallagher, and he's in a group that I'd like to say, come on, fellas, relax a little bit. You got enough say in the school system. You got enough say. Let the school committee decide. Let the city, this superintendent. Man, when you work for 4 different mayors and you did 3, I don't know, was it 3? Yeah, 3 superintendents. Come on, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I know there's too much input from other I like to say nonprofits.
And I keep
that
saying it
cause
every week.
conflict.
We're talking about the superintendent. I mean, Liam Skinner, I've never met him. I've heard nothing but great things about the guy.
Awesome
But
guy.
his shelf life's going to expire. I mean, you've seen it with so many. If you didn't see the history of superintendents of schools in Lowell, Bob, as you know.
Yeah, but it matters how many votes you get.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that's what I'm
Yeah.
that'll be another thing I'm running on. I'm a dead-up vote for Liam Skinner. Why? He's already proved himself to me.
I guess that's the question that John proposes all along, is that when you look at the MCAS scores in the city, are they a reflection of you turning over the superintendent also in the direction? Does that affect children learning? Does it affect employee status? Does it affect all those things? And one would have to say yes. When Manager Golden took over, I was the one who pushed for a 5-year contract in the very beginning because I thought stability is a major piece to get homegrown development in your employee applications and in your employees' work production. So you have to have a leader who's going to have some kind of stretch, because if they're only a 3-year contract and every 3 years it gets turned over, I don't have to listen to the boss at all. I just got to withstand 3 years.
Eric,
and someone else is coming.
major mistake, okay? Do you think Demoulas doesn't know the next time you go to the grocery store, you don't have to come here? He knows that. Demoulas pushes excellence out the door every stinking day. Now, if you had a 5-year contract, you will have to shop at Market Basket for the next 5 years. Do you think things would change? Yes, they certainly would. It's a mistake to give these people contracts. They stop pushing excellence out the door. You got a city manager that's taken 3 years to learn the job. He's still on the job training. You drive around, potholes are all over the globe right now, but Lowell is terrible. Oh, we get the new 311 thing. That worked for about 3 or 4 days, and sorry, we're sick of that now. The contract that you give your leadership is a big mistake. You have a 2-year contract. That's it. You're done. You should not give a contract for more than
Mr. Demoulas has had a
2 years.
lifetime contract. He owns the company, so it's a very, very poor example when you look at that.
Oh, yeah?
because
Well,
he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and has proven to do that.
But if he had a contract with all his customers, 5 years, you have to shop here for 5 years.
When you take over a
I
market, you
think
can do
things
what
would
you want.
change. It would be closed on weekends. They'd be going home at noontime on Friday at Demoulas.
How many other supermarkets are in Lowell besides Demoulas?
John, are you saying, are you for contracts or not for
He's
contracts?
against,
against
he's
it.
against
I
it.
get told, I thought you were going to say that
No.
you can't give, like, for example, I mean, we just had a new town manager in Drake had hired back in the fall. And I get it. The former town manager's making 185. This girl's starting at 220. I mean, I get it, because she's not going to come from anything. She's probably making around the same down in Lancaster, but she wanted to up from her title, and from what I understand, she's doing a great job so far. But like I say,
She
Dennis
damn well
Pindak,
should.
Dennis Pindak was a great one, I tell you. I was with him one day, and somebody said, Dennis, how long is your contract for? He says, my contract's every Tuesday night. He didn't have a contract, 27 years, nothing, zilch,
You
no
know,
contract.
We're
And he
still,
lasted-
we're still trying to, evolution, right? We're still looking for Henry Ford, too.
Yeah,
Come on, I mean, there's once in a
oh, I
lifetime.
know what you're saying, but yeah.
And Dennis Pindak was a once in a lifetime person.
Yeah.
When you look at the market in government is not the market that's being suggested here. And it's easy to pick the other side and say, okay, no contract.
What's the
You will
benefit?
not lord, we haven't
What's the
lowered.
benefit? Who, okay,
Have we ever lured a
where
city
could
manager?
Golden get a job for $1,000 a day on this planet?
Well, now you're making it personal. Let's talk about positions.
Well, no, well,
Let's talk about
that's
positions.
reality. You
Well,
guys
we-
gave him a freaking contract
You
for
all-
55 years.
See, you don't want to call out who gave it. I did not give anybody a contract for that amount. Not once.
And we know why.
That's a fact.
Okay. So
I did not give an
who gave him the
extension to a contract.
I know my friend Rita Mercier, she gave him the contract. I have yet to talk to Rita about that.
Well, it's been a couple months, and I'm sure you've had plenty of opportunity. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to you
Look,
don't bring
Eric.
up discussions because they don't favor the
Eric.
direction
You
you're
know-
pushing.
Eric, look,
now, if
you're
we
a
get
friend of
away
mine, but
from
I'm not
who
gonna
was on the
call
TV,
you.
now you
I'm not
switched
gonna
it.
call. No, I'm not going to call
You
you. to
switched
pick
the
a-
team.
I'm not going to call you to pick a fight with you.
So, can I get back to
No,
one?
Eric has very important points he wants to conclude.
Oh, no, I agree with Eric.
I like
Hey.
that. Let him
I
relax.
agree with Eric. The girl in Drake probably deserved
She would've
220
never
because
came.
she never would have came.
Never.
Now, no, not to put you on the spot. Do you have a contract at the Voc, or is it
No.
just
Well, I'm in a
appointment?
union. I'm in a union.
Okay.
All right, let me just break in. I need to, because if I don't start going back at John a little bit, it'll bother me all day long.
And your monitor will keep going off.
Well, no, well,
Just shut
listen,
your mic.
well, earlier he said something, how bad our school system is. Well, I can tell you this, Lowell High has 3,000 or better students in that school. And the top 2,000 can leave. I've had relatives leave with 8,000-9,000 cash and go to the Eisenberg School of Business, and some kids go to MIT and Harvard, and we give out over $500,000 out of that school. But what it is you got 1,000 children just like me that wanted to quit. I need out of here. I was a fortunate one. I had the U.S. Army. These kids have nothing. Nothing.
Bobby,
Wait a minute, John, I'm
On the
almost
mic.
done. I'm almost done. It affects everything, even girls softball. I know he's a baseball fanatic. I'm a softball fanatic. A little bit of baseball. We can't win. Why? We can't get pitching because the real good pitchers go to schools that there's no issues, no discipline issues. But I'll tell you something. Lowell High, to me, is better than North Middlesex out in Townsend. How's that? Grab you. I'd rather have my kid, my grandchild at Lowell High, which I do, because it's the world. It's the real world they're going to live in. So don't ever count that out about Lowell High. Let me tell you something. You could say it's this and you could say it's that, but my granddaughter, Pine School, that's where she went. Then she went to U Lowell. Someone else that we could talk about, that would be great. Bring up Marty Mann, because I like Marty Mann. I like Dan Durkin. I'll go with anybody. I got friends that I like. I like Tom Cassidy. You know, there's people that I go to, Dave Daly. I could keep going all day. I don't want to do that to you, but Lowell has some fabulous people in it. Come out of the woodwork, fellas and girls. Come on out. Run in your district.
Tommy,
Thanks.
read this one.
Thanks.
Eric, can you pick your mic up like 4 inches?
Shattuck Street is in worse shape now than before it was fixed. Who's responsible
Just
for that?
lean your thing up. Thanks. Thank you.
I want to
I don't
be
know if you can
funny.
answer that, Eric.
I want to be funny before Eric does. Mike Gallagher. Isn't that where his law office is?
Yeah.
That street?
Yeah.
That's probably historic stuff, but go ahead, Eric.
Council Robinson had put in a motion, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about the cobblestone replacement and how poor it was, and we're just waiting for a report back. But it has settled.
Coming at the
It's-
speed of government.
Yeah, and John, you're not wrong. I don't want anyone to think you're wrong. I think when you look at how managers are hired in the city of Lowell, I think that is the way it works. You got 11 people. People apply. We didn't really get much of an application pool at the time. At the time, I believe there were 2 of us that wanted to interview 3 people, and somebody said, "Why are we interviewing people? Because we know who the outcome is, so we didn't even get to interview anybody." So we interviewed Mr. Golden and gave him the job. We didn't go to the outline that we were given. We were given applications, we went through them, we put forth who you wanted to see. There were only a hand, not even 2, I think, who put in to interview 3 people, and they got overruled, and that's what happened.
We can't go back, but now he has an evergreen contract. It's never going to go away.
But going back is important, so you don't do the same thing over and over again, right? And the point is, when people come out in the public and they say who the winner is to the application pool, you're not going to get professional people to apply. Why would they apply? Bob Hoey and
I
I
wouldn't.
and
It's in the
Tom
bag.
all do the same job, and they say Bob's going to get the job. Tom and I are not going to apply to put our name out there. Why are we going
Right,
to
why waste
waste
your
our
time?
time?
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is we already knew the successor to that position at that point, rather than do an open process and say, okay, what are we being offered here?
If Golden didn't have Baldwin and Machado, Lowell would be in really rough shape.
Baldwin and who else?
Machado. Machado.
Well, he appointed Machado, so I mean,
He lucked out. Machado's a good guy.
all right. So he did his job.
Going this-
And if that were the case all the way through our government, we wouldn't have that problem. And I think the middle management is the issue. The upper management just manages across the middle management. And I think, as you just highlighted, if we had people in middle management holding people accountable, we would have capital plans in place. We would have, the things that you're looking for. So, I mean, I don't think you're far off, as Bob is pointing out. We've made major strides in our facilities, major strides in our road improvements. People are picking out Lowell's issues. Drive through Chelmsford, drive through Drake. You got the same issues with potholes and stuff. It's just Drake is more rural, but they have the same things, and they don't have highways running through.
Take a ride through Tewksbury.
you
Take a ride through Tewksbury. Big difference. Tom, you want to read this one?
If one has the guts to say it, he came from the State House, the manager, meaning.
No, when Eileen came from the State House, Eileen could get money. When Eileen Donahue called down to the State House,
She got $38 million in an overrun.
she would people look at the phone, oh, it's Eileen. Hey, Eileen, how are you? What can I do to help you out? Tommy Golden calls the State House, let it go to voicemail.
When Eric mentioned middle management, I'm looking at the police department because I just think one of Lowell's definitely biggest issues is drugs. It's too easy to get them here, and dealers like to deal in a city that's going to buy the drugs, and they're making a lot of money, and the police could put some force on them, but middle management would be a sergeant to me, and we've lost a few in the past few years that you can't replace, I'm telling you. Like, I'll give you one example, Timmy Golden. No matter what anybody might think of Timmy Golden, he was a tremendous sergeant. Lowell also has a captain. What's his name? Captain Kilmartin. There's other ones. I don't know them all, but I do know Kilmartin. We're very lucky to have a guy like him. If he gets the right message from his bosses and they tell him do this, and do this, he's going to do his job. I'm telling you. But we've lost a lot of good cops, and they're hard to replace, and that issue scares me a little bit.
They've done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I mean, you got
Yeah.
Dan Damaris, who's been working really hard with Mike Kilmartin, and I think they've done really well in the police force in the past. We just got to now focus on those dirt bike riders and try to figure that whole thing out and figure out where they're coming from. But I think that when you look at Lowell as a platform, and Tom Golden was not the first person elected from the state senate state house that has been a city manager. You had John Cox, you had Tully, you can go down the list, right? You had John Cox, Tully, Murphy, Eileen Donahue. So now you're looking, saying, how do we get Lowell to where we're going in a better place? And I think it's
Randy
better.
Mom was on his way to being the manager, too.
I mean, I don't know that answer, but you could be right. I don't know. I think you're right. There's a platform there that
Now we're
gets
going
you
to
from
get
here to there.
Vanna Howard's going to be the manager next.
You might think that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say yes or no to that, but I can say that when you look at it, there are challenges there. In our government, and when we look at professional hiring, we didn't give the professional hiring an opportunity at that point because people were saying who already had the job prior to. So if you want a professional person, then you got to stop with this person has a job, because they're not going to apply.
See, my take on the council is this, okay? You guys fight like cats and dogs over an issue, and you try to move forward. Okay, it voted, it won 9-2. Okay, we won. We won. And the manager just goes like, yeah, it's on the list of things to get done. And it falls off the agenda, falls by the wayside, and the mistake that you guys make is letting that leave the agenda. Unexecuted motions should stay on the agenda until they're executed.
I don't know what.
That would help a great deal in moving the Lowell forward.
Do you,
Do you have a
do you
city
watch,
manager's
do you
report every
watch the
week?
city council meetings? Do you watch them?
Now and then, yes.
Okay,
I'm not a
'cause-
devoted follower.
Well, I
It's
am
mostly a
because,
showtime.
yeah, I'd be watching gold shows, history shows, something like that on TV, but I watch city council meetings. And to me, there's a small group, but a group that are being led around by their nostrils. That's the way I feel when I watch it. By the mayor, I think the mayor carries
You want
a,
your sister to get a good job?
listen, I think the mayor carries a lot of weight on this council, and it just
your
leans
sister's
that
not
way.
getting hired.
Listen, I've been on plenty of school committee meetings when I'm always going to be the, 6 to 1,
Keep
5
this
to
up, your
2.
kid's not gonna
And
get
when
a
you
job.
when you finally get one for the, let's say on the schools, there's 7 votes, 4 to 3. Oh, it's a nice feeling to win.
Now your grandkids
And
are
if you
getting a
don't
job.
have the votes, John, if you don't have the 4 votes,
It's all about
there's
jobs.
not much you can do. You
It's
got to
all
get,
about jobs. When you, go around the room of the city
Yeah.
council and the school committee. How many relatives you have that work for the city of Lowell?
That have or do?
I got one that passes out the
That works
checks.
for the city
I
of
got
Lowell
one.
right
I got one that passes out checks to everybody in the schools. I didn't put them in there.
Does the city manager required every week to give a report to the council, meaning verbally?
You don't even
Like,
have to
that's
go
how-
to the meeting.
He's going to interrupt every time we try. He's obsessed with this guy.
That's
Yeah, but he's the one who supports the people who's
We
friends
know
with
it's
being
good. We know
hired,
it's
so
good.
it's all
when
good.
when he wins, he's going to be your
The
strongest
person.
advocate.
Now here's how the system works. The voter puts in the person, right? Who, as John's outlining, puts in their friends to get a job who votes for this person. So if the voter doesn't support the person who is putting in their friends, would the person be there to put in their friends?
Right. So anyways, does the manager, like, we have Drake, right, first item on the agenda every week is this town manager makes a report to the selectmen.
No.
And during that process, the selectmen then, Kate, her name's Kate Rogers, Kate, would you do this, would you do that? Oh, I got a complaint about this, they don't do that?
No.
Okay.
You know,
Maybe it's something you should think about.
See, town meeting's so different because of the way it's formed than the.
Well, no,
the-
this is selectmen's meeting,
city.
not town meetings. So this is actually a Board of Selectmen's meeting. The
Tommy?
selectmen will ask.
Jay's on fire this morning.
How about we get a manager who actually has management experience instead of a friend from the State House? That's why Lowell is a rudderless ship heading for the rocks.
I think we just explained that, why. I think it was explained right out, is that's, when somebody is already told they're getting a job, there is no person. I could tell you from the last applications, there was hardly anybody who applied who was a professional manager. And there was zero from this area. Zero. You might get someone from Colorado.
I got one for you. If Golden at that time said that changed my mind, was there anybody in that list you could have voted for?
I never
Oh, the
interviewed
cap-
him,
oh,
so
yeah, I'm sorry, the
I didn't. We didn't get.
applicants.
To,
Oh,
I
you
saw the applications, but I
Okay.
never saw the person, so I don't know anything about them. And when you look, there's an advantage to being a state rep. There's an advantage to being when you come in to interview. They can talk about all the projects going on in the city. They can talk about economic development. They could talk about all these things that pertain directly to the city. Now, when you talk to say somebody from say the Western Mass, you look and they're going to come up here and they're going to go, yeah, I have done this development down here or that or this or that, but it doesn't necessarily relate to what's at hand for you. Like you had Manager Golden come in and talk directly about the high school project. No other person, unless they read it off online, could come in and have any details to that. So those were things that you're in the middle of that you're saying, okay, where are we on these things? So, when you look at when someone interviews and you're looking through resumes and you're looking at it, I think there's advantages to being from Lowell and following Lowell politics, because I guarantee, either one of you could interview much better than a person from, say, Lexington or Concord or something, because you know what's going on in Lowell. Or what's going on in Drake. So it's very easy. If you would have had somebody from Drake who wanted that Drake town manager's job, who had an aptitude of following Drake town politics, there would be a leg up when it came to the interview process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
John, I invited Eric to come to the Monday night dinner club last night. And when I called him, he was out there at the Greater Lowell Technical High School still working. Around 5 o'clock, I
Don't
called
they
him.
offer dinner out there, Eric?
No. We were
Just
setting
lunch?
up for the science fair that's going on today with the students. So, yeah. We were there till 7 o'clock.
Good grub.
Well,
Whenever
6:30.
I
and then
had
went
lunch
to
out there, it
house.
was delicious.
Yeah, so now we got about 7 minutes left, Tom, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm
So-
thinking about, how about the fields and baseball? Because I know you stay up on it. How are we doing in the parks? Are we getting there? I know the weather's been terrible.
The
a lot
weather,
of rain.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're not there because of the weather,
Yeah.
the rain and everything. But over the winter, the last couple winters, I did have the chance to help out our softball team at the school, and they're doing really well. They played Lowell High, and like you said, we have a dynamite pitcher. She's amazing, and they won 9-2, our team.
yeah, and not to stay on softball, but I have to. Don't forget about Lowell High School. I think roughly, and I haven't followed it that closely, but you got 7 of them that are sophomores, and you don't get pitching because any good quarterback, how's that? Basketball player, everybody. They're Central, Lowell Catholic. They leave Lowell High over fear, over discipline. They're afraid. People are afraid of Lowell High School. No doubt about it. But I'm going to tell you something right now. You can get a lot out of Lowell High, Middlesex, and then go to Lowell. Become an engineer. I'm a math teacher freak. I love math teachers. Your son's one, right?
He is.
And he's at the Voc now?
He is.
I was aggravated when he was in Nashua, New Hampshire, saying, get him here. So I'm glad he got a job there. But Lowell High got some math teachers that made my granddaughter basically a civil engineer. Got a great job already, traveling the world already, and she's only 25 years old. That's Lowell. Come right out of, 11 of them came out of the Pine School, Lowell High, Latin Lyceum, which is not worth it. You're better off in high courses, like high honors or AP courses. You work too hard in Latin Lyceum and you don't get any benefit from it. Colleges don't help you out at all with it. But that's just my opinion. But Lowell High, I'm telling you, if you got a brain, ooh, you're missing out. Doesn't cost you. What's it cost you to go to Lowell Catholic? 20 grand? Am I guessing?
It's up there. I know it's up there.
Well, if you're a real smart kid, you're losing that money, because Lowell High, if you know how to go in there and pay attention and not listen to the rest of the 1,000 like me that were aggravating the high school and driving it crazy, you can make it.
Kate Hodges, the questions for me regarding where would Drakett's new town manager come from. She was originally the assistant town manager in Concord, Massachusetts, and then she was the town administrator in the town of Lancaster, Massachusetts. So those are the two communities that I was on the screening committee when they hired her, and those are the communities where she came from.
Are we ever going to get rid of nepotism? Never.
Never.
Well, it's in Demoulas too, don't
Yeah,
it?
it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's next door at my
It's
funeral.
in McDonough's funeral home.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
I'm the king of nepotism.
Yeah, I could never get someone a job. I tried once. I tried once with custodians, trying to get someone a job because I felt bad. They lost a family member, so I tried to get someone a job. But my own uncle that passes out the checks to the school department, I didn't get him that job. Bill Samaras got him that job.
I wish I would have got my wife her job.
Oh, really?
Oh, imagine.
You know, but she was there before me, so.
Long before.
Well, yeah.
God,
Well, I don't know her personally.
Well,
37
And
years.
she got passed over for actually did she get passed over for the city clerk? Oh, she didn't want it?
She's never wanted that
Oh, okay.
position. No. She's been there 37 years.
Wow.
I heard she
Fred
should.
Wilkie says, good show.
I heard she should.
Good morning, Fred.
Should be
Good morning,
the
Fred.
city clerk. Yeah, Fred's living the life. He's in he's in love.
That's what I saw.
Fred's in love
Yeah.
for a second time. You know, I feel sorry that he lost his first wife, but Fred's finally living the life. I know that. I watch Fred quite a bit.
She
I
was
watch-
an amazing person.
Yeah,
I grew up 6
yeah.
houses up from him, 5 houses up from Fred.
He's amazing too.
Yeah,
oh,
very,
I
very
like
good
that
family.
guy.
He was in the court system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because I know some of the guys my wife worked with knew him.
I was in the prison system, so when he comes to the Monday night dinner club, sometimes all we talk about is ex-inmates and people from Lowell that went to jail.
You guys had some characters in jail,
Oh
man.
boy, did we ever! Lowell holds its own in any department. I don't
Think
care.
about the characters who are prison guards, too.
Oh yeah,
There were
there's,
some good characters there.
there's some beauties.
Well, the zookeepers have to be unique. They have
That's
to know
some
how to
good
take care of
characters.
the animals.
That's some good characters there. But,
Yeah, and what you've done for that recent wrestler Anton, is that his first name?
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah,
That
John
was
Jackman.
good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Good stuff.
That kid has had it. You know, he's an amazing kid. He doesn't like to talk, as you saw at the microphone that night. He just keeps his head down. He's worked for me for the last 2 years, and when he came in, I'm like, "You don't wrestle," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I do. I'm gonna beat you up." He's been a phenomenal kid.
You-
Him and his brother Damien.
Do you remember Manny Freitas, that name? Guy
Yeah.
that boxed
Yeah.
Hagler and all that stuff. He had a brother, Ricky Freitas, in my age group time, I think went the furthest in wrestling. This kid might have passed him, but Ricky Freitas was the one that I always thought went the furthest in wrestling. I have a lot of friends that were wrestlers.
Today there's
Okay.
more tournaments, so they didn't have that tournament when they were kids.
Yeah,
and everybody
different.
likes to compare Bobby Milanazzo with Antoine. Two totally different times, and one's definitely does it year round and is more skilled at certain things. But I think when he gets to the collegiate level, if he does, he's going to have his challenge beating up on what Bobby did. So
Yeah.
there'll be, there's always, everybody loves the person from their generation. We talk about Bo Jackson like he's still here, he's still playing the game. And, you go back further, people talk about Ted Williams and they talk about Hank Aaron and them. But today's player, they defined it so far down.
Oh,
it
definite.
just
My,
It's not the
my,
same.
my favorite guy is Kevin Sheehan, the Sullivan School,
We got to go to break, boys.
teacher of the
Okay.
year.
We'll be right
Be
back.
back.
Hank Aaron in them, but today's player, they defined it so far down.
Oh, definitely.
It just
My
is not the same.
favorite guy is Kevin Sheehan, the Sullivan School.
Teacher of the year.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the April 15th edition of City Life. This morning we have my usual co-host of every other week, Bob Hoey, who is running for the school committee this year. We have City Councilor Erik Gitschier, who is up for re-election, and I keep forgetting to introduce our producer, City Council candidate for District 4, John McDonough.
No, I want somebody to run in District 4.
We have, John, they're
need
not
to
coming,
get
you gotta
somebody
run.
in District
So
4.
welcome, guys. How are you guys doing?
I thought he was the 12th counselor.
It's right, good point, good point. But, Bobby, how are you?
I'm doing good, Tom.
Eric, you're doing
I'm doing good.
Everything's
Your
good.
election this year, you're looking forward to, he had a successful party. You're running obviously citywide. You have what, one non-incumbent running so far?
Correct.
As far as, yeah, okay. And you got Rita and Vesna Noon are the other two citywide candidates, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and whenever you put your name on a ballot, you have to go out and run like it's the first time you've ever done it. And I think that's the hard part is you put your family through everything again, and it never gets easier if you take pride in what you do. It's not like you just throw your name out there and say, hey, here we are again. I think that's the hard part. And when you see all of these counselors and candidates put their names out there, I'm envious of the work that they put forth and all the things they do. It's amazing to watch.
These texts are less from last hour or so. Tommy, can you read this one?
Jeff Thomas, redistricting is wrong. Look at this. Look at South Lowell. We have approximately 15 streets that have to go to the Pine School when they drive south, drive the Butler School 2 minutes away from their homes. Can we just say that the city didn't do Shattuck Street? It was National Grid. We didn't pay for the work.
It's still our streets, and we still have to
We approved it.
oversee them.
Okay, Tommy?
A question for Mr. Gitschier. Did they ever catch the guy who was roaming in the yard, in your yard a couple of months ago?
Yes, they caught him, they arrested him. They've arrested him twice since then. He continues to do it. Our court systems have failed, that's the problem.
No, my son did.
Last one? Okay, your son worked.
He did. Not anymore.
Okay,
Not
thank you.
anymore.
That's all the text for now.
Oh, we got a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge and background about it.
Wow.
Which is good.
Probably Google us.
It's good that people watch and you want a better city. I think that that's the important piece to what all of us do. We all have goals, and hopefully we can make a better city for everybody.
So what's going to happen with the fire hydrants? Are we going to fix them? Is the manager just going to go into his little clamshell and act like he's really doing a good job? Let's give him a 55-year contract. What's going to happen with the fire hydrants?
I'm still waiting for the report, so.
It's coming at the speed of government.
Yeah.
It's off the agenda. So do you have a little notepad where you ask him every week, hey, how's the hydrants?
I asked him last week, so if I don't get it in 2 weeks, I'll do it again. I do it once a month. I'll do it again until we get it.
You bring
It's
the
really.
same motion in? Or
Yeah.
you just
I
ask?
just put
Good.
refile.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I was at a water conference and we talked about it with other people, and they said how far that distribution system in Lowell has fallen. Even contractors are saying, so people are reaching out to ex-employees trying to get them to come back to run some pieces of that division out there because it's in such a tough way right now.
Thank you.
So if you didn't see the first hour of the Dawn Patrol, John, how can someone go watch that? Is that
It's on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you go to a channel, a City Life Show, 3 words put together, City Life Show,
Yeah,
click on my picture and you just scroll down, all the videos are there.
because the first hour, it's going to be kind of hard to match that. It was beautiful, you and him. I'll never forget that show. But
Well, we can stir it up. We can stir it
no,
up.
I want to go back to what Jeff Thomas said, and I hope I described it or conveyed the right message to you is about how I felt about Kim Scott's district. Redistricting hurt that district, District 5. Took my neighborhood out of the picture and put us in with Belvedere. Just made Belvedere a stronger vote. Belvedere will pick the top 3 people for citywide candidate. Belvedere will pick the top 2 for citywide schools. There's no doubt in my mind. I can make that prediction right now. I can make predictions of who's going to win races too, but I'll save that for another day. This election is the best election I've seen in a long time. And if you paid attention, most of us pay it, that have grandchildren and work a job, pay attention. I don't think you can touch the kid that's sitting right next to me, or a gentleman that's sitting next to me, for a worker. Oh, boy, I thought George Sapasaris was a worker.
How long was Sapasaris the superintendent?
I don't know. I think he
Had
had
a good
it for
amount of
about
years.
8 years.
He's probably the longest in a long time.
And we still talk about that. Do you understand what longevity does to the
Yeah.
process?
Yeah.
There'll be hiccups in the first couple of years because a lot of times what happens in government when you talk about government is the first couple of years you're being either getting credit for or being blamed for the person before you.
Yeah.
And that's really the hard part of when you're trying to dial things in. So if the person before you filled up something with cronyism or something like that, and you're trying to move them out and start your own, you're going to be blamed for that, by the people who put those people in. They're going to be the people behind the scenes kicking the snot out of you and saying, look, you know what, this guy's no good, you did this, they did that. Well, if you're going to try to straighten something out, something has to move to change, and that's the point, is if you come in and you say you're a change agent, well, you're going to have to stir the pot somehow to get it to change. And people don't understand that when you come into these roles, they're not easy. You hire someone for change, but do you really want that change? That's the question, and will you support it? And I think that's the challenges we have a lot in our city when we look at it. I was just lucky, Bob, last election, and you hope that we can have
No,
the
you
same
weren't.
thing.
But
But-
listen, let me interrupt you. You weren't lucky. You've worked your head off. Come on. I'll give you the credit
There's
where you won't
so-
give yourself the credit.
Well, there's so many people in this world who work extremely hard that don't get the benefits that they should, and they watch somebody above them rise and get all the credit for them. As you know, you got like the Mike O'Malley's of the world who worked for the city of Lowell, who did the pothole stuff. He didn't get near the credit he should have, and people above him got a lot more credit. And that's really the problem with I see in government is we don't really translate down and say, okay, middle management needs to be held accountable, and the people under them will perform, and then everybody will build together. You got to start at that level. If you don't, we're just spinning our tires. If we're just blaming the one person, well, it's never just one person in a structure that like we have.
But when you sit on a board, right, and you just can't get enough votes, let's say that, in the schools you want 4 votes to listen to your idea. I remember about Liam Skinner one time. I just said, it was like 7 o'clock, and I was the type of guy to say, it was raining out. I said, I'm going to go look at the daily school. I'm going to go walk around the daily school, and I go up to the daily school, and this is years ago. Who's in there working at the 7 o'clock? Liam Skinner, the principal, was there. So I used to do that a lot, visit the schools and stuff until someone got aggravated on the school committee, passed a motion to not allow me to do that. So I had to always make sure I got permission anyways, but I always usually called the principal saying, hey, can I visit your school? I want to see this, I want to see that. And then I remember calling in about chemicals one time. Because one school had 1,000 cases of wax, and another school had but they had no stripper. This school had 1,000, hundreds of cases of stripper and no wax. I went to call. Shh! I was getting threatening calls. Shh! Watch out! Watch out what you say. But since when I was on there back in the early '90s to now, the school's a lot of things because of you and the mayor and the city council, not the whole city council, but Corey Robinson, ones that sticks out to me, and there's just a few more.
Kim Scott pushes
Kim
a lot.
Scott,
There's
and
a lot of them.
yeah, there is, and thank God, because we were going down the wrong path.
The
when it
funniest
came to
thing
maintenance.
is going back to what you said is you had to call and get permission. And I do that. I usually will call over to either the superintendent of schools or the city manager and say, can I go look at, say, the Pawtucket Memorial? The funniest thing ever, Tom, is every time I get there, some city employee beat me there to fix whatever it was
gotta go
that we were
unannounced.
supposed to go look at. You can't. So, I mean, that's the problem with it. We talk about the Riley School gym floor. That's going to be replaced this summer. And we talk about little things like in the back of the Riley School where there's a basketball hoop, they put those landscape rocks in an island. And the kids are like throwing them everywhere and everything. I said, why didn't we just pull that? Because it's very dangerous. So they're going to work on that. I haven't gone over and looked to see if it's done yet. But, some of the things that you see, everything that a councilor has is usually brought by some resident or some city employee. And now they try to dial that out as if you talk to those certain councilors, you're going to be in trouble. But you still get those phone calls, and people are on edge because they don't know whether to trust you enough not to say who's telling you this information. Because as John has highlighted many times before about the clock at City Hall and pointing up and saying, hey, talking to the manager and saying it's broken, he said, who told you that? And that's what the whole outcome is a lot of times. Not is there an issue, how do we fix it, but who told you that there was an issue? And I think that that's the saddest state that can happen in any government, rather than saying, okay, let me go look at it and see what's wrong. And John, that story is probably one of the best ones
Bernie
when he
Lynch.
says that.
Bernie Lynch walks out of City Hall. I meet him on the front steps. Hey, Bernie, when are you going to fix the clock on the clock tower? He said, who told you it was broken? That's what Lynch asked me. Who told you it was broken? I said, I looked up.
Earlier show there at the Dawn Patrol when you mentioned food in the school system. I never voted on 4 different school committees, never voted for the vendor that gives the food to the children because I thought we were getting secondhand food.
Do you know we have the same vendor and they're amazing? It's just, it's weird how
Really?
employees can make a difference.
And Drake
where it
has
goes.
had
But they make the food off-site, and that's a major problem with the Lowell schools. And you hear it, when you go knock on doors, you hear a lot about the food in the school system and the major problems with it. And I don't know if they've dialed in on it or not, but I think if I were as a school committee member, you have to have a healthy breakfast and lunch to actually create the learning process.
Mike
that
McGuire ran
continues to happen.
the cafeteria out in Drake for a long time when I was the health director, and when he retired, somebody took it over, and again, it was never privatized.
Tell me,
already
I got
talked
two for
about
you to read
priv-
here.
The fire hydrant was finally changed on Talbot Street. That was at least 65 years ago. Is that what it says?
It was 65 years old.
Schools have changed since I went to Lowell, Mass. We never had any strippers. If you were, there's got to be some councils that are going to have opposition to citywide.
there
What do you
is.
think? What would be the issue that they should be talking about? Let's just use District 3. Why me instead of Corey Belanger? What should be if you were running for the first time, Eric? What would your issue be? What would your
I don't think it's fair of me to say and give challenges an upper hand or
Oh, okay.
anything against the people running.
What do you think, Bobby?
I think that,
Well, you have to
People
have,
can see
you
it.
have to have some type of platform to run on, and I think in this world right now, just to be yourself, your own person, and not listen to other counselors and stuff. I'm gonna be a man of my word. When I vote for something, it's the way I feel. It's not the way someone else is telling me to vote. And I think that is probably the best thing I ever felt on the school committee is even when you lose, even when you're the only person, as long as it's in your heart, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
When it comes to schools, cities are, to me, is a whole different animal, you know?
Tom, you want to read this one?
Eric,
Go
Aaron,
Antoine.
go Antoine. Oh,
Aaron has been a very big supporter of Antoine Jackman, who is the wrestler at Greater Lowell.
we could get Aaron on here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the races, I think you have intelligent people who can pick up the platform, and I think you're going to see some really good campaigning that will focus on the positives and trying to find solutions to the things to make it a better city. I think our challenge right now, a lot is the tax base. Can we afford government anymore in the way that we're giving out raises and, in saying that we need these jobs? Have we ever looked at consolidating some of them? Like, do we need a finance director at DPW and the health department? Could there be one position that covers both? When I was a kid, they didn't have a finance director at the DPW. It's not that old of a position that got put there, so I don't know those answers.
I'm going to
but
put this up on the screen. You guys can keep talking. I'm going to
I
scroll
think
through.
efficiency is a major piece when you start looking at government, and you have to look to see, where are we with our trash contract? Where are we with certain things that are going to be big? That's the questions that come up.
We have a selectmen's race out in Traeger right now, and we have two incumbents up for re-election. There's a challenge with Don Plummer, and he's making hay of they just voted in a trash fee about 3 weeks ago, and he's making hay of that. And I think it's just a dead issue. I mean, we were going to go broke if we didn't get a trash fee.
Tommy, it was a mistake. You guys should have just upped your taxes so people could write it off.
Well,
Well, you think you can't write it off? It's a town expense. Like Lowell did the same doggone thing. Well, we'll just put it on for a fee. We don't want to put the taxes up. We'll put fees. We can't write it off.
I'm not a finance guy, but when you say up your taxes, you increase that budget by that. The town would have gone broke.
Every dime Drake spends came from the taxpayer. And to make them pay to have their trash picked up where they had it picked up,
We pay for our water, we pay for our sewer.
Tommy, it was included in our taxes before. Now it's no longer included.
Oh, you guys have been doing it for years, but we just started.
Well,
right?
for Tom's end, it's a double dip move. So what happens is, last budget, it was included on the tax base, right, John, as you're outlining. Now you take it and you put it in an enterprise fund as something totally different without reducing the tax base of the funding that was just spent, because it was an overall reoccurring. And now you throw it over here and you say, okay, in addition to paying for all the trash last year, you're going to pay another fee over here. So at some point that balance beam has to happen, or you got to tell them where those funds are going that you spent from last year's trash, because the budget didn't go down, because you took the money out of it for trash and put it over here. What you did is you said, okay, I'm going to keep the money you spent last year for trash. In addition to that, I'm going to cause you another fund over here. So that's where the question is. And there's probably plenty of expenses that will cover that. I don't have a say either way, but that's what it looks like.
My saying is,
Hey,
if the
upon-
trash fee, people are going to complain about the trash fee, and people are going to complain
My
when
only-
taxes go up.
My complaint is I can't write it off when it was included in my taxes.
Right.
I could write it off. And the city in its geniusness, way before your time, I don't care. It's wrong that I can't write it off on my taxes. No, the company can because all the expenses, but my personal taxes and your personal taxes in Drake, it's terrible. Your town manager should put it in the budget and put your taxes up.
But they're going to complain
cover the
anyway,
cost.
John. You're going to
Too
say if all.
bad.
Okay.
I can write it off.
It's like, you're paying it, well, you write it off. I don't think it's a big write-off, is it? Is it a big write-off? Again, I'm not a finance guy. I mean, $400 a year isn't going to kill me, you know?
Okay, it's like a donation to the church, $400. Go ahead, write a check. Eric, downtown, the parking meters, do they go till 8 PM, 7 days a week now? 7 days a week.
7 days a week?
You
weekdays?
greedy bastards, honest to God,
Sundays
that's
too?
terrible.
I'm not greedy.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, listen. Here's the bottom line.
I'm sorry, I overspoke. Please, you're not a greedy bastard, but I mean,
Well,
it's
I might
terrible.
be. I might be if I'm taking your money and not using it in a certain direction. Well, John, you have an enterprise fund for parking that has to self-sustain the infrastructure that was put forth, right? You
Yep.
would agree with that. So at the end of the day, you can either pay it in your taxes, and then we could feed it back into it like we've been doing over the last few years, or we can actually have people who are using a product pay for the product.
Now, up in the Highlands, your
Yep.
part of town, how was it that the parking meters all got taken away up in Couple Square? What happened to those parking meters? What happened to that parking, pay for parking in Couple Square?
Yeah, again,
Vesna got rid of that? That's what I'm told. Vesna got rid of all the parking problems up there.
I don't know that. I don't know that to be true. or
So
not true.
you had to pay to park in Couple Square. And
When
then
was
all of
the
a
last
sudden,
time- in
all the
Couple
signs
Square?
left.
My wife grew up in Couple Square, so I have never paid for parking in Couple Square.
Me either, and I go
I
to
have never
Kevin John's,
paid there.
I never pay.
But my wife grew up there, and I don't remember, and maybe I'm wrong, parking meters in Couple Square, but there may have been. Maybe behind the old
No,
Lincoln
they
Square
had them.
painting
They had them on
store.
Westford Street,
I didn't
I
know.
and
remember
they had
those.
them in the parking in the parking
Yeah.
lot.
That's news to me.
Didn't know that.
And all of a sudden, they were gone. And they tell me that Vesda was the guy who made the magic to make them go away. So, Wayne Janess, why don't you get rid of the parking meters in downtown Lowell?
Because what happens is then people who live in, apartment buildings or condos down there will park in those spots.
You
and then
put a sign up, 2-hour parking, tow zone. And you call Kazan, whoever your favorite tow guy is, okay?
we have plenty of signs up in the city that have speed limits and no one pays attention to them.
You know what really? Tow zone. When you say tow zone,
Sure.
it works like when I go to a church, like we go to a foreign church like down in Woburn or something like that. I'll put up a sign, and funeral, they don't care. Tow zone. Funeral, tow zone. Nobody parks. When they see those two magical words, tow zone,
I don't know where you're going, but I know in Lowell when they put out this tow thing for snow removal, people still leave their cars.
Oh, I've seen it. It's
So I
amazing.
don't know, this tow zone thing, I guess, if you think
As
it's
in
gonna
Drake-
work, but
Drake-
it hasn't
if I
worked.
had to say,
It hasn't
they would
worked.
tow every car that's on the street. Every car that's on the street gets towed.
We don't have the resources to do what you're saying. That's the problem.
Oh, look at Eric, you're
We
famous
can't-
for saying
government
this.
is
You got a
notorious.
contract for towing the cars? It's not my problem, it's
John,
yours.
you talk out of both sides now. Government is notorious for putting laws in place that they can't even enforce, and just to put another thing, a feel-good moment in place. And that's what we're doing again. Let's just throw another thing in that's feel-good moment because I'm running for an election. That's government. You just hit it right on a nutshell. We'll make another rule that no one ever is going to do, but it feels good.
Can I just interrupt the producer? I thought you were going to do your motions over there. We get to talk here by ourselves.
It does feel good. It does feel good.
That's coming up in a minute. I got this is a good one. I got a kick out of this.
You got it that.
I got a kick out of this guy. Are we looking for
Wait
blocks
when
on the
he's
roof?
sitting there next year. He'll be different. It will be a different story when he's on that council next
Yeah,
year.
it'll be a different story, is right. How about a bike program in Lowell to ease the traffic and parking?
There is one. You can go down the bike connector and get a bike if you'd like to and ride the bike. I mean, we
Ain't
got.
gonna happen.
You're gonna
No,
have,
yeah. I mean, now more than ever with the reduction, we get this master plan, Lowell Forward master plan, right? Create affordable housing, which is subsidized housing, but they call it affordable housing. They're just going to reach into your pockets and pay it. And at the end of the day, in that whole master plan, there's not one area for creation of jobs. So basically, they're saying, okay, we're going to bring poverty here, and which we already have, and how do we finance? But we're going to create more housing. I don't know how you're going to pay for it. That's what the question comes down. So they have this big whole, master plan that has no funding sources to it, but it looks good on paper.
When I get finished with the agenda, then I'm gonna, if you wanna talk about any of these
Yeah,
items.
so
right now.
Eric, I got one for you. Let's just say the 11 city councils all get reelected this year. Who's the next mayor? Who do you think wants it?
I have no idea. No
Rita
one,
wants-
I'm sure people are already
Rita
talking
wants
about
it and
it.
Danny wants it.
no one has said that, but I think Danny's done a really good job.
Yeah.
I think, when you
If
look
he
at
wants a second term, I've heard that, yeah.
when you look at the school side and when you look at things, I think Danny's done a good job. I think, I'm sure Vesna would like it. I'm sure that Rita, I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm just thinking, because people are already talking.
They're already
about
going to
that.
tell you,
People- it's
Tom,
like-
I'm going to tell you, okay?
It's like-
and no matter what I say here, someone's going to say different. I cannot be the mayor of the city of Lowell. Can I say that again for you, Bobby? I cannot be the mayor. John, can I say that for you? I cannot be the mayor of the city of Lowell. I worked till 7 o'clock last night. I don't have time to be the mayor of the city of Lowell. So let me just say this so that when someone goes to another councilor and says, you know what Eric's doing? I cannot be the mayor of the city of Lowell.
how about someday being the city manager of Lowell? Someday.
We wanted him in Drake, and I couldn't coerce him.
I'm
tried
too
to do it.
old. I'm too old. I'm too old for that. I think that you need, people who would.
I want to throw out something because
And
you
it's funny, I
mentioned.
just want to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Going back, the high school issue. 10 years from now, we're going to be sitting here, and there's still going to be people PO'd about the fact where the high school went. You know that,
Do you know,
right?
Tom, when
You know that?
the first month I got on
People are
as
still on that again.
city councilor, I was seeing at work how, materials and everything costs were going up. So the first month I got on as a city councilor in the city of Lowell, and I asked about how much is the overrun at the high school. I was told, we don't have to worry. No, it's all set. We don't have any. And then quickly it became $38 million.
Oh, gee.
And thankfully, we had Eileen Donahue and Ed Kennedy, who pulled that $38 million, not only for the city of Lowell, but they did it also for the town of Tingsboro and everyone who were doing
Yeah.
but that came from us at the city council level. And today, we have the same thing. We have an issue with the floor at the high school in the 2200 building and maybe even in the 1892 building, because we believe that one core is good enough for 32,000 square feet of flooring, which I've never heard in my engineering life. And I've never heard an engineer walk up to a microphone and say, how did you determine that the columns and the footing in the 192200 were good if you didn't do the floor? And they said, we did it with a visual inspection. Now that's scientific. Hopefully you get 20/20 vision that actually goes through things and you can see. But when you look at this stuff, the high school has always, it's going to be a debate for the rest of eternity, but there's
Back on social media,
new
people are talking about it.
construction,
Oh,
old
my
construction, but the same people who are kicking at the high school want to save the Smith Baker and tell you how easy it's going to be to rehab that. Is that not crazy to think?
Right.
That should be torn
You look
down.
at the Smith Baker and you're like, just the floor in the 1922 is going to be anywhere from $2 to $6 million. Just the floor. Never mind anything else. And again, if you can save it, go save it, if that's what you want. But on my end, I'm looking at economics and saying that thing is way surpassed. We're looking, to put it out. If you're going to spend $20 million on that building, good luck to you. You must be a business genius. The only people who would ever do that is some nonprofit, because there's no way who's taking government money in. Because there's no way any businessman would ever take that building on.
You mentioned Mike O'Malley a little while ago, and I went to a party Sunday over at the Don Polsky Club on the corner of Lakeview and Coben. for a guy named Herman Goslin that got run over on Bridge Street
guy.
and got killed. Well, it's going to happen on these kids with the bikes, and it's not just the motorbikes. We got a lot of kids that love to do the wheelies. That's the big thing, the wheelies, even on
horrible.
regular bikes. And someone's going to get hit. There's no doubt about it. It's going to happen. And Lowell, it's happened everywhere. Brockton, all the big cities, Worcester, it's happened already, and it's early. So you brought that up about speeds, because I live on a dead-end street, and I'm telling you, there's cars behind the school. There's cars that do 40 and 50 miles an hour, and motorcycles doing the same speed. And it's one side has a sidewalk, the other side don't. But
I can't believe some kid hasn't already got killed on a
Oh, it's
bike.
gonna
I've seen it
happen.
in Drake, it down Lakeview Avenue. My Lord of word, I'm saying it. And people are posting videos, and I guess they really can't.
those scooters,
Yeah.
the electric scooters
No,
doing
just
20
regular
and
bikes,
25.
Bobby.
Yeah, no,
Regular
all of
bikes,
it, though,
yeah.
all of it. Yeah, it's pretty
We
dangerous.
really lost authority in society. I think that's the problem.
This first one from Mark Kratman.
Good morning, Mark. Everyone, great show. Love the discussion. Have a great day, everyone.
Congratulations, Mark. I didn't have a chance to call you, but congratulations on your election win. Well deserved.
If we remove parking requirements in downtown, you will destroy all businesses that are fighting to survive.
I agree. I agree with that.
I was a young lad.
Tommy?
Hoey cost the taxpayer $38 million plus. You don't think they would have had problems out of Collie?
Of course they would have.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's easy to say what
Absolutely.
wouldn't have happened
Anywhere.
when you didn't have a chance to
Anywhere,
have it
huh?
happen. Every project right now is running over, and they say it would have been built. Well, they keep forgetting that there are very, very powerful people who live in that area who would have put up a fight for the wetlands control over there. And once they did that, it would have been held up in courts, and you could be still in the same place. So, again, at the end of the day, why not support what's in front of us and try to make it the most efficient process that's here? You win, you lose, you win. I mean, Antoine Jackman, the wrestler, okay, we'll talk about him for a minute. He gets up and at this national competition, and they grab his hand and they raise it for third place. The coach from the other team comes over, and in that, when you want something reviewed by the camera, you have to actually pay because they don't want everybody doing it. Guy comes over, pays, and says, I want you to look at this takedown. Shh. So they go and review the tape, and they take Jackman's hand, and they put it down, and they take the other kid and go, you're now the third place. Antoine Jackman, being the adult he is, reached over, shook the kid's hand and said congratulations and walked off that thing. Earlier in the year, there was another one where a kid basically put his finger in Antoine's eye because that's what they were doing at Greater Lowell, where Coach Cassidy and Coach Keselowski got upset with the ref that they didn't catch it. Antoine Jackman, as he's wiping his eye, said to them, don't worry about it, go back.
Well, that's
Wow.
And that shows
He's
you the
rare.
different
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
levels in life when you're looking at things. So, we need to understand some of these kids can teach us a lot. And that's what, Antoine is. That's
rare.
who he is.
He's rare, but
He's a
yeah,
kid who's
yeah.
like, don't worry
Yeah.
about it, coach. I
Yeah.
got this. And it's amazing what you can learn from kids and what they can learn from you. It's probably been when Bob talks about manager jobs here or there, or you do about Drake it or anything. I think of how lucky I am to be around those kids every day, and how lucky I am to see some of the things that are still genuine in life before they're tainted by this crazy world and all these crazy people that are out there trying to push and pull and do things. So, when you think about this Collie downtown, we've already spent, $381 million down there. We're going over.
It's like waiting for Santa Claus to come to the house.
Right.
It ain't. So, Tommy, you can shut your mic off over there. This will be about 3 minutes. If you have an announcement or you want on City Life, just send it to me, text it to me, and I'll put it out there. Coming up this week, the 17th, so Thursday, Lowell High School is having a job fair. If you're thinking of changing careers, or you're a kiddo, just, I don't know what I want to do, take out your phone, put it in camera mode, and look at this QR code, and register to show up at this thing at Lowell High School. It's a good idea. Starts at 8 o'clock. It's going to be over at 10. So it's not a lot of your time. But if you're thinking of changing careers, this might be a good solution for you to take a look at. It's a job fair happening at Lowell High School Thursday, April 10th, 2025, 8 a.m. Right in the high school. Beautiful new place. Take a look at it. Moving right along. Come on, jump there. Okay. Rita Mercy is having a party. Friday, April 18th, I know it's Good Friday, 6 to 9 p.m., 449 Boylston Street, $10 is ticket. Usually she's always had a delicious buffet, and I would expect she'll have the same this time. I know I'll be there, hope to see you there too. Sakari Chow, he's having a fundraiser, and it's the Khmer and Southeast Asian New Year celebration with Sakari Chow 2025. Saturday, April 19th, 7 to midnight at the São Paulo Mayos Restaurant, 450 Chelmsford Street in Lowell. 5-course dinner. Ooh, that sounds yummy. Live band, dancing with the Bad Boys Band. Seating's limited, $50 a person. He wants you to call up and make it your RSVP. There's a phone number down there, so take your phone out of your pocket, take a picture of this slide, and be in touch with Sakari. Neighborhood meetings. We have 6 neighborhood groups in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts. Whatever part of town you live in, the cops put this out. It tells you when your next neighborhood meeting is going to be, and people who are in charge. And it's an opportunity. If you want to get involved in your neighborhood, take a peek at this. A lot of them have gone by, but I'm sure they'll have another one coming pretty soon. Tyler Park's going to meet tomorrow in downtown Lowell neighborhood at the end of the month. But I'm sure the police will put out another one of these. Johnny Dakota's having a party. Shrink this up so it fits on the whole screen. So Johnny Dakota's having a party. The committee to elect John Dakota invites you to a campaign fundraiser, John Dakota, Lowell City Council, District 8. Wednesday, April 30th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. Mount Pleasant Golf Club. Checks made payable to Committee to elect CTE, John Dakota. Donations start at $20 and go up. Today is the 15th tax day. If your taxes aren't done, you got to file for an extension. But Eric just said, if your tax ain't done, go eat some shepherd's pie. The Lowell City, the Lowell Senior Center is proud to have lunch 7 days a week. This is pretty cool. It's only $2. If you don't have the $2, just tell them I don't got the $2, and they let you eat for free. So welcome to Lowell. But shepherd's pie today, the idea is you go over to the Lowell Senior Center at the corner of Fletcher and Broadway Streets in Lowell. Go over there around 10:30, go in the door, you're going to see a nice gal by the door. Her name is Tara. And get a ticket off of her. And at 11 o'clock, the food comes out, and you walk out of there with a big smile today. So today, shepherd's pie is for lunch, and that's the whole month, you can see. On the holidays, we don't have lunch. It's a holiday. If you need somebody who needs prayers, the monastery is St. Clair. That's their phone number. So you got somebody, okay, I'm worried about my sister, worried about myself, I'm going to have heart surgery. Call them up. They're easy to, leave them a voicemail. They'll say some prayers for you. And a very effective group of nuns, very in touch with God. God bless them. They're great gals. That's the end of my announcements. Tommy, back over to you.
Okay, so we've got about, 23 minutes to go here, and
Let me just
Well,
start,
go ahead.
Tom. Just
Texts keep rolling in, so I don't worry about
That's all right, but I would recommend you watch the Dawn Patrol earlier. Look it up on YouTube. Just some of the exchanges we had was unbelievable, so I would recommend you go look at that earlier show too. But
and the only one that doesn't get that is Lowell, right? Everybody else gets the Dawn Patrol.
I tell my
on
friends,
that cable, John.
you know what I tell my friends? That
I get it in Drake, I know.
most of us are always with our phones and we're not near TVs. Just hit ltc.org, channel 8, 7 o'clock in the morning. You can watch this show at
LTC
least.
doesn't record the program. They'll replay it this afternoon at 4,
Right.
but only an
Yeah.
hour. And they're still mad at us, so I don't care. They don't want to get over
What I'm
things.
saying,
I don't want them in charge on Judgment Day.
I can get the 6 to 7 show in Drake. The other towns get that too, right?
All the other towns, 2
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
If we had 3 hours, they'd run it. They
Right.
don't. They're public access. They'd be happy
Right.
to run it.
Right.
And by the way, if you live in Tewksbury, you live in Drake, you live in Tingsboro, why don't you have any Tingsboro people on the show? Come on in. Love to have you. Just give me a call. Love to have you. So whatever town you live in, Tewksbury, Drake, I don't care. Love to have you.
You know, one of the best calls I had yesterday was to Tom Cassidy. I like to call him Tank, but his mother used to get mad at me for using that name. But the 30 years, I think he's put into wrestling out there at the Greater Lowell Technical High School. The one thing that will definitely, we don't see it, people won't see it, is what type of person he is. and what he teaches kids and what you just talked about was unbelievable for me to listen to, because I know it comes strictly from that coach. I mean, Tom came from George Bossy, which is a whole different world. Tom's the type of guy that can handle a heavyweight like me eating a Snickers bar just before a match, okay? He knows how to handle that kid, to say, watch what you're eating, watch what you're doing. And, I mean, you guys are so lucky to have him. Number one, and you know who I always talk about, Timmy Fallon. Timmy has saved at least 100 children for me in my lifetime. Saving, I mean, kids from dropping out of Lowell Trade or Greater Lowell Technical High School because of that man. He was unbelievable. He's roughly my age. He must be close to 70 by now. He's still out there as a part-time type of guy. Is he still there?
He is, yeah.
He was one of the, to me, and I was there back when Mr. Murphy was the discipline guy. I remember all these people. Timmy was something special, just like Tom Cassidy. That's 2 big scores for the Greater Lowell Technical High School.
Coach Kozlowski also, Tom Kozlowski, the boys club guy, been with them all those years. The two of them, when you look at wrestling today, kids start at 5 years old and they wrestle up, but at Greater Lowell, most of the kids who come there are kids who start in freshman year for the first time. And just the ability for Tom Cassidy and Tom Kozlowski to be able to keep kids involved who know that in the beginning you're not going to win, because some kids been there for so many years, to keep that drive and then still the faith in everything that they do, to watch the kids develop to their senior year and then start beating the kids that they were losing to is just, it's astounding to watch, and you're just like, wow. And he brings them in, and they both do the weight room with them. They actually get in and get physical and do the stuff with them, and the kids, we'll always say he's got old man strength. That's the running joke with the kids. But he's been phenomenal for our community and for a lot of kids. He's put a lot of kids into different places that they never thought they would be freshman year, whether it's the military, whether it's, they're just dedicated. The difference between a trade school and a normal school is that these kids go out and they do plumbing all day, and then they come to practice for their junior and senior year if they're out on co-op, or electrical, or cosmetology. We have a girl who did, I think she was 6th in the state, which that's amazing. And when you look at the things that they can do, they go out and work all day long, and they don't get to go home and say, I'm tired, I don't want to cook. No, they come home and they actually go to the school and they work.
Mr.
So
Bomil.
it's good.
When people talk about cost, will the Rourke Bridge be over cost or come under budget? I'm sure it will be over
It's a
cost.
state project. You kidding me? We're never going to find out what it. I drove under the bridge coming from, I had to go from Tewksbury to Nashua yesterday. So I took the 495 and I took the easy right to get onto Route 3. If you look to the left, when you go underneath 495 bridge, it's scary of how bad that bridge is. It's supported by wood. It's just like, oh my God, I can't believe that. What a mess. Okay, please continue with the reading.
Tom Cassidy is a great individual who is fair and honest person, one of the good guys in Lowell.
Yeah, and I know he's watching today too, so
We
Last
need
one.
George
get ready to
Lowell.
rumble.
We got him right here.
Yeah, it's great. Let me ask you this about Zach. Is he still playing baseball?
Zach's coaching, so he coaches at St. A's in Manchester. So he coaches college baseball right now. He'll try out for a team over the summer, and or he'll coach. I'm not sure what he's going to do this summer. So
How good is that Cape Cod League? They're right up
yeah,
there, huh?
it's one of the best in the country.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and then they put kids into the major leagues and into the farm system. I think just to be able to play college sports, it's an amazing thing to be dedicated that much, because remember, you're going into an area where it's unfamiliar territory for many kids who go to college, and then you got to learn not only the academic end but play a sport. Zach was unique because he did 2 degrees at the same time while playing that. So
Great show today. I totally agree, Tom. Eric Gitschier for Drake and Town Manager has a nice ring to it.
Well, I tried to talk to him. He just, I think I had 2 votes from him out there.
if I had the 5 votes, I would have done it for Tom.
I lived across the street from Billy Maloney, and I used to always joke about how he couldn't strike me out. That was all a lie. I couldn't hit him at all. curveball. He had a curveball that was unbelievable. I don't care how far you stepped up in the box. I couldn't hit that kid. He almost made it. He come close. He was Pawtucket AAA. He also pitched to the the Red Sox batting practice when they lost. Remember that ball that went through the first baseman's legs?
Buckner.
Yeah, he was their batting practice person. Billy Maloney, great kid, great kid.
Zach has had the opportunity to meet him and become friends with him.
Oh,
He's a
good.
phenomenal guy.
He was in
Yeah.
one of our Drake establishments, maybe. He must have been working for the Sox. He had a World Series ring, and he let me put it on. It was just cool. He was a very, very approachable guy. He was in Drake one night, and just like Dogman, he had a Red Sox World Series ring. Remember Dogman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Mark McGuire. He was over at one of the restaurants by the ballpark. And you walk in, and this guy he's absolutely as big as a tree. And he puts down his hand, and his hand is like 3 of yours. And the ring was like this. It was bigger than a baseball.
yeah,
And I was
yeah.
looking at this guy like, wow, look at the size of this man. And that ring must have cost,
I know you're not the only one on the city council, but you really put a good effort in to baseball and softball. I see it throughout the whole city. More people are getting excited about baseball, and to me it was a dying sport not too long ago, but it seems like it's bouncing back.
We have a motion on this week to work with the Lowell Baseball and Softball League to have their parade again from the Songus, which is coming up. I believe it is the 26th. But, yeah, it's coming up, and hopefully we can get all that together with the city and make it as great as it was the last 2 years. And I'm thankful for the 10 people that I actually work with on the council. We may not agree. We may challenge each other, and that's the point. Is even in a family, each person challenges each other to better outcomes, and that's really what we're looking for in the city. Is how do we manage through some of the most difficult times? Because without that opera money, where would we have been? Without Eileen Donahue, Ed Kennedy looking and saying we got to get $38 million, where would we be? So when you're looking at some of these challenges that we took on, and there's more to come, we still need a police station. We still need to rehab our fire stations. There's so many things that were so neglected through many of years that we've had the same people doing the same thing over and over again and giving people a pass. Well, now we're highlighting the things that they've been giving a pass on, and some people don't like that because it's never been the way it's always
I'm
been.
glad to hear we need a new police station. Why don't we get rid of all the old firehouses at the same time?
Yeah, that's what we're trying. We just had a presentation from a group who is putting together the outline on what the cost will be. Why don't we bring them up to standards right now? Because saying that is going to be hard to do, John, in a short period of time. Long-range planning is what you're saying. It should have been done 25 years ago and started into that process.
We can't go back.
There's a lot of hazardous waste in these. There's some of them that are filling up
I'm
with
not
water
saying
in the
use
basement.
the same footprint. Sell that building. Sell the building, turn it into
Yeah.
condos, buy a few houses in the neighborhood, knock those houses down, and build a beautiful brand spanking new firehouse that the firemen can be proud of, the Lowellians can be proud of.
In the meantime,
Oh, they're ancient, they're historic.
In the
Let them turn them into condos.
In the meantime, before we get to Fantasy Island, we have to actually bring them up to snuff on some of the hazardous materials that are in there. The basements are being filled with water. We have to secure those before we get into Fantasy Island.
Go over to West Lawn Cemetery and go in and look at the bathroom in the West Lawn Cemetery Service Building, okay? And we have to bring them up to standard.
That's getting
Those
fixed.
poor cemetery guys have had to use that facility it's terrible.
When was the last time they cleaned it?
I don't ask those questions.
Oh, boy.
The same
That's not
people we
good.
talk about, those poor guys, are the same people who can't bend over and wash the stuff. And that's really what, I mean, there's a balance here. If we're going to do something new, we have to have a maintenance plan with it, rather than just
Well,
say,
who's their
let's
manager?
pay for it.
Who's their manager? In the cemetery, who's their boss? It falls on the boss.
You know
If
who-
I want a toilet cleaned,
You know who the boss
can
is. If
bet
you want to name them, you can.
You can bet your bottom dollar, if I want a toilet cleaned, it's going to get cleaned.
Oh, I don't disagree. You look at
Because
your
I'm gonna
place,
bring
it's immaculate.
I'll clean it myself.
John, why is it that you, as a business owner, have to live within a house that's work within a house that's but it's immaculate? Why can't we have the same thing on the city side? Why is it you in the private sector, if you go over the house over there, what's it, 150 years old?
Whatever, yeah.
roughly.
Yeah, yeah.
150 years old. You walk in there, it's immaculate. Your guests talk about how immaculate it is. Why can't we have the same thing in government? Why are we not holding employees to the same standard that you're holding your employees to? That's the question.
Poor management.
Because half of them,
You're
half of the
100%
pe-
right.
just like working in a prison, right? Half of them sit around and complain about everything, while the other half is doing the work.
How about the guy who pees on the floor, right, Bob, and then the other person has to clean it?
Yeah, that's
Go to
not-
the schools and you'll watch it, how kids will treat the floor, but now we have them in a pace where it's like, hey, guys, listen, this is your place. Let's try to figure this out together here, and we've really dialed it down on the damages.
You talked earlier about the report on fire hydrants, and I know a town is a lot smaller than a city, but I remember when Dennis Pienek was the manager, he'd have a selectmen's meeting, and the next morning, he'd call me and say, Tom, there's a health issue regarding this, a selectman brought up, could you have a report to me by next Tuesday night's meeting? Done. So shouldn't the manager be doing, just simple phone call, they didn't have to even send me a memo. And I'd be done. That was a priority, because the boss called me and said,
We
it's
got
not the
10
same.
minutes, so the simple answer is this, is that some people put one person in charge of a function and leave it to that one person, and then that person quits or whatever they do, then it never gets followed through. And that's what they're saying happened, is that there was a person in charge of this stuff, he quit and didn't document anything. And that's the flaw, is we should have overlaps. One person should be in charge, but there should be a system where it goes to another person to check and make sure it's getting done, so you have overlap in. Well, they don't have that, so what they're doing is just, and they'll say, oh, we need another person. That's BS. It's a simple spreadsheet that you put on, and it goes from there.
Call me, read this one.
A question, is it true that it cost the city $900K to put a 700 square foot building on the upper field at Shed Park?
No.
All right.
What'd it cost?
I don't want to be quoted on the number, but I believe it's less than half that.
And then some people raise quite a bit of money from the states,
Yeah,
too.
there was money raised and stuff, so I believe it was half that, but I can certainly get that number back.
I haven't been up there, but I think it's near the girls softball field.
Yeah, it's
in
the
between
it's going to be the
baseball.
Botto little building, so it's
It
named
was,
after Steve
it was
Botto.
needed. It was needed. They put it up, and good for you.
Since you mentioned Ed Kennedy's name, I don't know if it's there today or it's coming soon, is that millionaire's tax, how much they brought in. Ed, if you're listening, you brought in about $1.4 billion with that millionaire's tax. I don't know how many millionaires moved out of the state, but that money was supposed to be for schools and some type of infrastructure or transportation, and it's being cut in half. The transportation part, MBTA is getting 800 million, and schools are getting about 300, maybe 350 million. I don't like the numbers there.
You know what the problem is, Bob? You
What's
just
that?
highlighted again. The MBTA is getting the money after being a government agency that did no planning and failed. So we're pulling money again. We're going to overtax another area and pull it to offset poor management and poor functionality of government again. Whether it's needed or not, we're still going down that same rabbit hole.
I hope Ed fights for it, though. You never know. It's not over yet, but I think it should be at least turn it around 50-50, We're not getting it. So someone might call Ed Kennedy. I tried to call him a few times. He probably knows. I call him almost as much as I call you, Eric.
We're trying,
Almost.
We're trying to go back to Ed Kennedy again, that same watering hole, for any of the overruns that will come, and ask that the MSBA be part of that formula when those overruns come in for the high school floor and stuff. That had nothing to do with the city side's problem. It was the engineering that didn't pull it out. Even though it is a function, if they would have found it in the beginning, it would have still been part of the cost for the building. But now it's a total taxpayer cost instead of being shared 68% with the Mass Building Committee.
Well,
So
the
that's
best thing I've
associated.
seen, though, again, is I know I tried it once when I was on the school committee to get a couple of master electricians in there just to maintain the school and maybe teach some kids that, throw that right out the door. They wouldn't even look at it. But now, I believe because of you and Corey Robinson and a few others, you're going to have your own little maintenance crew at Lowell, correct?
We're pushing that direction. And the funny thing to me out of it all is it would be paid for by the schools anyway, because it would just be paid back to the city, And I don't understand why we didn't have one all along. If there's a cost to maintain the building, the environment that kids are being taught in, why wouldn't you put people in there to actually give them the best environment to learn instead of not doing that? And I don't know why it hasn't been a thing for a while, but you get it back when you charge back to the school
Well, I
department.
hope the people of Lowell know what you do for the Greater Lowell Technical High School. You do that as a job. And in Lowell, you're doing it as a city councilor. It's been tremendous, and I
And
appreciate
he doesn't
everything.
get paid.
Well, that's another tune,
Well,
but
that's not right.
all I know is it's really satisfying
That's not
when
right.
you can go to your granddaughter's school and you see the principal, and then you go complain to Eric, and then he's there the next day. That's all I'm saying. I hope the people see that.
I'm just lucky that I have the people who have supported me along the way and continue to, even though we disagree, we agree, we disagree. I think that's what creates a very long-lasting relationship. And I think I've been lucky with that with a lot of people. They'll all say the same thing. I don't always agree with you, but, I vote for you. So.
Agree to disagree. That's one of my biggest sayings. I mean, even over the Trump thing, people losing friendships over the fact they supported Trump or supported Biden. Forget it. Just forget, they're right, but just agree to disagree. It's and I've
Well,
known
they have a
people.
lot of mentally ill people that wear blue underpants that go really right out of their mind. And they walk up to me at a public event and just say, "You better never need anything."
Oh,
They're like, "Okay, I understand.
yeah,
I'm not gonna fight with people."
it's bad.
Who they're like mentally ill. They are so angry.
I think we have a lot of mentally ill people who are actually running our government.
I have a mentally ill guy running the TV show too, but that's
If you look from the top to the bottom, there's some challenges. I think Congress and Senate always get a pass. And I think that that's the major piece, that's the problem that's consistent throughout the years of our country. And when you look, Senate and Congress have always gotten a pass. And you're watching them promote on social media one side or the other, and you're watching them promote but they never did anything to switch either way to make it a better country.
All
So-
this stuff that's going on in the country, violence-wise, and it's anti-Trump stuff, obviously, and I'm a Trump supporter, but has our congressman come out and condoned all this violence, all these people getting,
she's got her blue underwear on.
it's unbelievable.
She's got her blue nylons on.
Schumer, Jeffries, she doesn't, nobody's
The
come out and
most
says-
important thing that has happened is when government gets in and they start giving out money, what happens is the inflation goes up. And then when inflation's up, the same people who have given away all the money are the same people that complain about inflation and saying you need affordable housing, which that to me is insane. If you stopped and you backed up and you gave people back their money, you wouldn't need as much.
The DPD director said at the council meeting last week that the shed upper shack was $900K. Not sure if that includes a bathroom facility. The DPD director said at the council meeting. That's what this person said.
Eric said he'd get some more information on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that the DPD director was at the last meeting. I thought it was.
Term limits will solve a lot of problems.
They'll
We're dreaming,
never-
baby.
they'll
We're
never
dreaming.
come, yeah.
Never gonna happen.
I would agree with that.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Waiting for
Nope,
Santa
never
Claus.
going to happen.
Santa Claus is coming to your house too.
Well, we got about 2 minutes left, gentlemen.
But, you can't say it never happens, because this year, to me, I'm an unenrolled voter, and things went my way, federally. Went my way. Finally. You
Yeah,
know
but-
what I mean?
but
I
our
can't
congressman's
complain.
there for life. She wants to
Well,
be there for life. She's
I
there.
think a lot has changed when it comes to getting elected, I'll tell you that. I think this city's changed. You're
People
going to see
don't vote
something.
anymore. People don't care.
Well,
Okay,
you
it's
might
Morris
not-
City
you
like.
might
Come on.
not get more people to vote, okay? But I'm saying the people that do vote, there's a lot of unenrolled voters that are no longer happy. I'm telling you, that's what I'm
Didn't
getting.
you once say possibly Eric for Congress? Didn't you say that?
Well, he
Bob?
could run for, he could, in my eyes, sitting in low, he could run for any seat he wanted to.
Tomorrow,
agree.
Linda
But I
Bowles going
like
to
what
have
Harold-
Beth Singleton, Craig's going to be here, Hillary Winterstrom's going to be here, and while I got the microphone here, if you want to be on, if you're running for some office, I'd love to have you on the show. Call my cell phone; it's on the bottom of the screen there. Love to have you on the show. Real easy to do. Just call me up. We'll make it happen. Back up, you guys. Time is shot.
So how do you call yourself?
How do I call myself?
Yeah, I thought you were running. That's what he just said.
I'm gonna run if I have to. I don't want to run, but this Wayne Jeunesse, nice guy, but he's in the cowardly lion side of things. I don't think he's got anything done for this district. And I'm hoping somebody who's 30 or 40 years old wants to run for District 4.
He is.
But are you going to run if nobody runs?
That's the plan, yes.
You know, and all I say is, you could come out right now, right, Eric, and say, I'm running citywide. But when the papers come out, you could say, you know what, I'm just going to run in my district.
Say goodbye, boys.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Eric, thanks for coming. Thanks for taking the tough questions. You're the
thank
best.
you.
for having me
Appreciate it,
again.
buddy. Yeah.
There we go, guys.
Bye.